In the previous video, you learned how you can test your PLC digital input and output when performing a factory acceptance test. In this final video, you'll learn how you can easily test your PLC analog inputs and outputs. Also, as a side note, you'll be able to order all the PLC parts discussed in this video on the Real Parts Marketplace. We'll add a link to the marketplace in the video description as well. As for the next step, you need to test the analog inputs. To do this, you simply need to know the type of input signal that will be connected to your PLC analog input. Typical input analog devices are transmitters, RTDs, and thermocouples, each providing different signals to the PLC. Transmitters typically send a 4 to 20 milliamp signal, RTDs produce a variable resistance, and thermocouples produce a very small millivolt signal. To test the analog input card and wiring in your control panel, you need two things: a signal simulator like this, and the wiring diagram of the control panel. Simulators are capable of giving you signals that are produced by transmitters, RTDs, and thermocouples. For example, let's say that our analog input card will receive 4 to 20 milliamp input signals from transmitters installed in the field. To test this input, we first need to know how the transmitters are connected to the card. This is what you should already have on your wiring diagram. The other way to check the wiring diagram for your card is the manual. For example, this is the wiring diagram for the analog input card that I have installed in my control panel. Don't let all these elements that you see here confuse you. All you need to know here is that if you want to wire a 2-wire transmitter to this card, you simply need to connect the positive to terminal number 1 and the negative to the next terminal. The wiring is the same for the rest of the 2-wire transmitters. Assuming that other ends of these terminals here are connected to terminals number 1 and 2, to test this input, I can put the signal simulator on the 4 to 20 milliamp current mode and then connect it to the other end of these terminals. By doing this, I am simulating a 2-wire transmitter connected to my analog input card. Now I can play with the simulator, change the input values, and observe the changes on the output based on the PLC logic. For example, let's say that this is a pressure transmitter that is used to measure the oil pressure in the system. Based on the PLC logic, if the oil pressure goes under a certain level, the oil pump needs to turn on. To test this, I can change the current and look at the HMI installed on the panel to see if the indicator for the oil pump turns on. If the pump turns on, it means that everything works fine for this input and the logic. If the oil pump does not turn on, I need to look into the wiring or my PLC logic. Now, you may ask, what if I don't have an HMI installed with my panel? How can I see the change in the output? Well, that is also very easy. To check if the pump turns on in the input, you just need to know to which digital output the pump will be connected to, and then you can see if the relay or the contactor will be energized as you change the input current. So that's how easy it is to test the analog input card. You can repeat the same process for all of the other inputs as well. If you are a bit unclear about the wiring of the analog input card, make sure to watch this 2-part video series titled How to Wire Sensors to a PLC on YouTube. I promise all of your doubts will be gone after watching these videos. We'll add links to the videos in the description as well. Okay, the last step is to test the analog output card. The testing process here is pretty similar to what we did for the digital output card. For each analog out, we can simulate a signal in the input and then check if the analog output changes based on what we expect in the PLC logic. An analog output signal could be either voltage or current. We can measure this using a simple digital multimeter as well. Most of the signal simulators can also be used to perform measurement functions similar to a digital multimeter. Okay, So this is pretty much what you need to know to be able to perform a factory acceptance test for your control panel. To wrap things up, with the factory acceptance test, you simply make sure that all of the PLC inputs and outputs, the wiring, and the PLC logic work as expected before you ship it to the client site. That should do it for this video. As mentioned, you can easily order all the PLC inputs and outputs we discussed in the video from the RealPARS Marketplace. You can also find the link in the video description. Please make sure to like this video if you find it useful. This keeps us motivated to create more easy-to-follow videos for you in the future. Also, if you have any previous experience performing factory acceptance tests as an automation engineer, let us know in the comments below. I guess there are many interesting stories about this that are interesting to read. Want to learn PLC programming in an easy-to-understand format and take your career to the next level? Head on over to realpars.com.